You pulled that plant out of the pot last week. The roots were brown, slimy. Some of them came off in your fingers. You cut away what you could, repotted it in fresh soil, watered it carefully, and 2 weeks later, it's still dying. Here's what nobody told you. By the time you saw those roots, the real damage was already 3 weeks old. The pathogen that killed them had been feeding underground since the first time you overwatered. And the treatment most gardeners reach for, a commercial fungicide from the garden center, does not kill what killed your plant. It suppresses it. Temporarily. And then you're back at the shelf buying another bottle. There is a different option. It costs less than a cup of coffee. It's been sitting in your medicine cabinet since the last time someone in your house scraped a knee. And in the next 10 minutes I'm going to show you not just what it does, but exactly why it works at a biological level, the mistake that causes most gardeners to use it wrong, and the one application almost nobody talks about that might be the most powerful of all. Let's talk about the root problem. Why most plants die underground. Roots breathe. That is not a metaphor. Root cells consume oxygen and expel carbon dioxide, exactly the way your lungs do. Healthy soil holds air pockets between particles. Those pockets are where roots feed, grow, and function. When soil stays wet too long, those air pockets fill with water. Oxygen disappears. And in an oxygen-free environment, a specific class of organisms wakes up, anaerobic pathogens. Fungi like Phytophthora, Pythium, and Fusarium. These organisms do not need oxygen to survive. In fact, oxygen kills them. So when your soil loses its air, they move in and your roots cannot fight back. Here is the part that trips gardeners up. A plant with severe root rot will wilt and look like it needs water, even when the soil is soaking wet. The roots have lost the ability to transport moisture upward. So the gardener waters again. The oxygen disappears further. The pathogens multiply faster. You weren't killing your plant with neglect. You were killing it with care. The fix is not a fungicide. The fix is oxygen. Now let's talk about the molecule, what hydrogen peroxide actually does. Water is H2O. 2 hydrogen atoms bonded to 1 oxygen. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. Same structure, 1 extra oxygen atom bolted on the end. That bond is unstable. The moment it contacts organic material, a fungal cell wall, a bacterial membrane, a pest larva, it snaps apart and releases that oxygen atom as a free radical. Free radicals are chemically violent. They rupture cell membranes on contact. They do not slow pathogens down. They destroy them. And then, this is the part that separates peroxide from every chemical fungicide on the market. It breaks down completely. Into water and oxygen. No residue. No chemical buildup. Nothing left in your soil except the 2 things your plant needed most. One more thing about that oxygen release. When peroxide hits damp soil, you will hear it fizz. That sound is not incidental. That is oxygen flooding back into the root zone in real time. You are watching the reversal happen. That is the mechanism. Everything I show you next is built on that single reaction. The first mistake, your bottle may already be dead. Before you treat a single plant, check your bottle. Hydrogen peroxide is unstable. Light degrades it. Heat degrades it. Even the act of opening the bottle and exposing it to air degrades it. A bottle stored in a warm bathroom cabinet for 6 months may have lost 30 to 50% of its active concentration. This is why gardeners try hydrogen peroxide, see no results and conclude it doesn't work. They were spraying diluted water. The test is simple. Pour a small amount onto a dark surface. A piece of dark soil or compost works perfectly. Fresh, active peroxide will fizz immediately and visibly. A degraded bottle produces little or nothing. Buy a new bottle if yours fails that test. Store it in a cool, dark location with the cap sealed tight. And replace it every 6 months regardless. Cheap insurance for an already cheap tool. The applications, exact methods, exact results. Treating and reversing root rot. Remove the plant from its pot. Rinse the roots under room temperature water. Healthy roots are white or cream colored and firm. Diseased roots are brown, gray, or black and collapse when you press them. Cut every diseased root clean with sterilized shears. Do not leave any infected tissue attached. Mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 2 parts water in a clean container. Submerge the remaining healthy roots for 8 minutes. You will see fizzing. That is the peroxide sterilizing the root surface and oxygenating the tissue simultaneously. Pat the roots dry gently. Repot into fresh, dry, well-draining medium, not the same soil. Water once with a mild drench. 4 tablespoons of 3% peroxide per liter of water. Then let the soil dry completely before watering again. Expect visible improvement within 5 to 7 days. New white root tips are your confirmation the plant is recovering. Eliminating fungus gnats. The adults are annoying. The larvae are lethal. They burrow through the top 2 inches of moist soil, severing root hairs and introducing fungal pathogens as they feed. Mix 1 part 3% peroxide to 4 parts water. Apply it directly to the soil surface, enough to saturate the top 2 inches. The fizzing you hear is the oxidation reaction destroying larvae and eggs on contact. Repeat every 5 to 7 days. Most infestations collapse within 3 treatments. Allow the soil to dry between applications. Gnats breed in moisture, so the drying cycle is part of the treatment. Now, let's destroy powdery mildew and fungal disease. Mix 3 tablespoons of 3% peroxide into 1 liter of water. Load it into a pump sprayer, not a trigger bottle. You need consistent pressure and fine mist coverage. Spray at dusk. Not morning, not midday. At dusk, UV light is fading but temperatures are still warm enough for the solution to remain active on the leaf surface for longer. This timing maximizes contact time with the fungal cells without the burn risk that direct sunlight creates. Cover both surfaces of every affected leaf. The underside is where fungal spores anchor and reproduce. If you only spray the top, you are treating the symptom, not the colony. Repeat daily for 4 consecutive days, then drop to every 3 days until the infection clears. Boosting germination. Seeds carry pathogens on their outer coat, fungal spores picked up from soil, storage, or handling. Those pathogens are often the cause of damping off, the sudden collapse of seedlings at soil level in their first week. Mix 1 teaspoon of 3% peroxide into 1 cup of water. Soak seeds for 20 minutes before planting. No longer. Extended soaking can soften the seed coat too aggressively and damage the embryo inside. The peroxide sterilizes the seed surface and softens the outer coat, allowing moisture to penetrate more evenly. The result is faster, more uniform germination and significantly lower damping off rates. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and brassicas respond particularly well. Now, the application nobody talks about, hydroponics. If you grow in a soil-free system, hydrogen peroxide is not optional. It is maintenance. Hydroponic reservoirs develop biofilm, a thin bacterial layer that coats tubing, pumps, and reservoir walls. Biofilm harbors pathogens and competes with your plants for dissolved oxygen in the nutrient solution. Commercial growers treat this weekly. Add 2.5 milliliters of 3% peroxide per liter of nutrient solution once per week. This concentration is low enough not to harm plant roots, but sufficient to prevent biofilm establishment and maintain dissolved oxygen levels in the reservoir. Do not combine with beneficial bacterial inoculants on the same day, the peroxide will neutralize them. Space applications 48 hours apart. Now, the limits, what it cannot do. Hydrogen peroxide is a contact treatment. It destroys what it physically touches. It does not travel through a plant's vascular system the way systemic fungicides claim to. This means coverage is everything. An area you miss is an area that survives and recolonizes. Use a pump sprayer. Take your time. Treat the plant, not just the visible problem. It also means that peroxide cannot reverse damage that has already occurred. Blackened roots stay black. Yellowed leaves do not green back up. What peroxide can do is stop the progression and give the plant the conditions it needs to produce new, healthy tissue. And one honest warning. Excessive use destroys beneficial soil organisms, the bacteria, fungi, and microbes that recycle nutrients and support root health. At the maintenance dilutions I've described, the impact is minimal and temporary. At higher concentrations used for severe infections, you are making a deliberate trade-off. After heavy treatment, restore your soil biology with a compost tea drench or a mycorrhizal inoculant within 2 weeks. Use peroxide like a scalpel, not a flood. Now let's about how to recognizing damage, if you've gone too far. Peroxide burn shows up within 24 to 48 hours. On leaves, small white or bleached spots, sometimes with slightly crispy edges. On roots, white tips that turn translucent rather than firm. The damage stops the moment you stop applying. If you've oversprayed foliage, rinse the affected leaves with plain water immediately. Do not apply again for at least 5 days. If you've overdrenched the soil, flush the pot thoroughly with plain water, 3 to 4 full volumes through the drainage holes. This dilutes and flushes the remaining peroxide before it causes further root damage. Then let the soil dry completely before any further treatment. The plant will recover. The mistake is not irreversible. But catching it in the first 48 hours makes recovery significantly faster. You started this video thinking hydrogen peroxide was a wound disinfectant. You're finishing it knowing it is an oxygen delivery system, one that destroys pathogens through chemistry rather than toxicity, leaves nothing harmful behind, and addresses the root cause of the most common plant problems rather than masking the symptoms. Here is your action for today. Go to your medicine cabinet. Get the bottle. Pour a small amount onto dark soil and watch for fizzing. If it fizzes, you have an active, working solution ready to use. If it doesn't, you know exactly why your last treatment didn't work, and a fresh bottle costs less than $1. The most powerful gardening tool you own has been sitting unused in your medicine cabinet. Now you know what to do with it. If you got value from this video, hit like and subscribe so algorithm shows it to other people who needs this piece of information. I'll see you in the next video.